ॐ ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Okay, right. So we'll start off with the Mangala Shlokam. Akhandam Sachitanandam Avang Manasagocharam Atmanamakhiladaram Ashraye Bhishta Siddhaye Artatopyapi Advayanandan Atitadvaita Bhanataha Guru Naradhya Vedanta Saram Vakshye Yathamati. So with that salutation, we have basically covered some of the text in the first chapter, which was setting the stage for two things. One, which is called the Anubandha Chatushtaya. Anubandha Chatushtaya means there are 4 steps, 4 things that are required to write any text. So that is Vishaya, Sambandha, Adhikari, and Prayojanam. So we looked at Adhikari. Adhikari is the one who is an eligible aspirant. So we looked in detail as to what is required of that. Then now we are going to look at Sambandha, Vishaya, and Prayojanam. In the book, it is page number 29, the text number 27. Vishayaha Jiva Brahmaikyam Shuddha Chaitanyam Prameyam Tatra Eva Vedantanam Tatparyat. So anyway, I'll still share the text. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So in the English text, if we are to follow that, it is here. Yeah, 27. Vishayaha. Yeah, Vishayaha Jiva Brahmaikyam Shuddha Chaitanyam Prameyam. Okay. Tatra eva Vedantanam Tatparyat. Okay, so in Vishaya, which is basically the subject, so Adhikari is the eligible aspirant. Vishaya is the subject. What is it that is being discussed? So Jiva and Brahma Aikyam. Aikyam means oneness. Jiva is the one, the Atma which resides in each of our individual bodies. Brahma is obviously the supreme cosmic oneness. And by the word Jiva Brahma Aikyam, it basically infers that they both are one and the same. There is no difference. So that is the subject which is being discussed in this book. And what else is it? That oneness is Shuddha Chaitanyam. It is pure intelligence. And that is the Prameyam, that is the goal, which the Pramata, who is the eligible aspirant, is going to learn about. Tatra eva Vedantanam Tatparyat. There itself lies the entire essence of the Vedic knowledge or the Upanishad knowledge that will be summarized in this particular text. Okay, so, and then very quickly he moves to the Sambandha. Sambandha is the relationship. Relation between the, what is the relation between? Relation between the subject that is being spoken about and the source, reference sources. So what are the books and what are the sources that are being considered here in proposing this subject matter? and if there is a relation between those two. Sambandha tu तदैक्य प्रमेयस्य तत्प्रतिपादक उपनिषत् प्रमाणस्य च बोध्य बोधक भावः. So sambandha, the relation is whatever has been said earlier, the aikyam, the oneness, tat aikya prameyasya. So the oneness with which that was being mentioned, of that tat pratipadaka, the one which is proposing it, one which is being proposed is the oneness, one that is proposing it is the Upanishad or the texts. That is the pramana. Pramana is the medium through which this goal is being proposed. And what is the relation between those two? Bodhya bodhaka bhavaha. Bodhya bodhaka, the bodhya, the one which is being taught, bodhaka, the one which is teaching it. So bodhya bodhaka, the relation between those two therefore is one that is being taught and another that is teaching it, and hence therefore they both are related is what he is basically saying. Then the fourth of the steps is called prayojanam. Prayojanam tu ततैक्य प्रमेय गत अज्ञान निवृत्तिः स्वस्वरूपानंद अवाप्तिः च तरति शोकम आत्मवित् इत्यादि श्रुतेः ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मैव भवति इत्यादि श्रुतेः च. Prayojanam is the benefit. And what is the benefit? Tat aikya prameya gata ajnana. See, once that oneness is realized, oneness between my Atma, the Jivatma, and the entire cosmic oneness, the Paramatma, once that is realized, what happens? Tad aikya prameya gata ajnana. When ignorance is dispelled with knowledge, naturally that is the benefit. And typically in one of the Subhashitas, we know from the Sanskrit Subhashita, which is Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Ajnana is ignorance. Timira Andhasya. So just like how Timira Andha, pitch darkness. How do you dispel that darkness? With just lighting up one shalaka, one stick, or one the torch, the olden days, the torch, the oil torch. So once you light it up, the darkness gets dispelled. Similarly, with the knowledge, ignorance is automatically dispelled. So ajnana nivrittihi. So that is the ajnana nivrittihi. Then swaswarupananda avaptihi cha. Not only that, what also happens is, after the ignorance is dispelled, I automatically develop the knowledge of myself. Swarupa ananda. The bliss of knowing my own self. My own self gives me the bliss. What is that myself? Which is nothing but realizing that I am the Atman. And he has given a couple of examples to support his argument, which is Tarati Shokam Atmavit. Tarati means crossing or swimming, whichever way you take it. Shokam is the sorrow. Atmavit, one who has gained the knowledge that I am the Atman, that Atmavit develops is able to swim across the shokam, the sorrow, as was said in Chandogyopanishad. Then you have Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati, as is said in Mandukyopanishad. Who is a Brahmavid? Similar to Atmavid, nothing different. Brahmavid is one who has known himself to be the Brahman. So once he knows that he is the Brahman, what does he become? He becomes Brahman. So Brahmavid Brahma eva bhavati. So therefore, through this, we know that there is the benefit. Okay. So with this, we complete what is called the Anubandha Chatushtaya, which are establishing who is the eligible aspirant, then what is the subject matter, what is the relation between them, and then what is the benefit, what is the relation between the sources like Upanishad and the subject that is being discussed, and the benefit. Having done that, now he's talking about the importance of Guru. Okay, so Ayam Adhikari Janana Maranadi Samsarat Alasantaptaha Deeptashira Jalarashim Iva Upahara Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam Gurum Upasritya Tam Anusarati Tad Vijnanartham Saha Gurum Eva Abhigachet Samit Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam Ityadi Shrutehe from Mandukya Upanishad. So the word split is as follows. Ayam Adhikari Janana Maranadi Samsarat. So Ayam Adhikari. This Adhikari, the one we already established who the eligible aspirant is. Janana Maranadi Samsarat. Samsara is the world, the material world that we are living in. What kind of a material world is it? The one which involves birth and death and those kind of things. Janana Maranadi Samsarat, and from that kind of material world, Alasantaptaha, one who is eager to kind of get released. And what kind of eagerness is that? Deepta Shira. It's almost like, for instance, somebody had caught fire on their head. And what is he going to do? He is very quickly running towards the water body to dip his head to put off that fire. And he's running so kind of fast. He's not thinking of anything else. The only thing he's interested in is getting rid of that fire. Single focused, nothing else distracting him. Similarly, this Adhikari is also so focused on what he's supposed to do. So, just as the Deepta Shira Jalarashim Iva. So, just as he is reaching the water body, Upahara Panihi. So, this eligible aspirant, Upahara Panihi. Upahara is a gift. Pani is hand, the one who is holding a gift in his hand. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam Gurum Upasritya Tam Anusarati. Shrotriyam, the one who is learned in Vedas. Brahmanishtam, the one who is realized in the Brahman. Gurum, that Guru. Tam Gurum, that Guru. Upasritya, having reached him or having approached him. Tam Anusarati, he follows. How? Then it is according to Mandukya Upanishad. It says, Tad Vijnanartham Saha Gurum Eva Abhigachet Samit Panihi Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Just as is said in Mandukya Upanishad, for what reason is he going? Vijnanartham, to learn knowledge and to apply it. Saha Gurum eva abhigachet. Only he has to only go to the Guru. Abhigachet. He should go to the Guru. With what? Samit Panihi. Samit is the kind of wood that is used in fire. Earlier we have seen Upahara Pani. Here we are hearing Samit Pani. Gurus are not obviously greedy. They don't need any material possessions. Usually, Guru Dakshina is in the form of obeying Guru's command in spreading the word of knowledge, or doing things for the welfare of the society. Or typically, I believe in those days, a student would go with firewood. So Samit Panihi. So he's holding firewood in his hand, and he's approaching that Guru who is a Shrotriyam, again the repetition, one who is learned in Vedas, Brahmanishtam, and one who is who has realized the Brahman. Ityadi Shrutehe, as is said in the Shrutis, the Vedas. Okay. And then in the text, there are a few important things which are mentioned. Very interesting one. Shastrajnaha api, in page 32, under the paragraph where it says should repair. It says Shastrajnaha api swatantriyena brahmajnana anveshanam na kuryat. Even when one is learned in Shastras, swatantriyena, just independently, swatantriyena, independently, brahmajnana anveshanam na kuryat. Even if he is very learned in Shastras, it is not advisable to make a journey of realizing the Brahman on their own independently. It doesn't mean that it should not be done, but it's not advisable because you're easily lost. You may get distracted. There are things you can reflect upon when you are with a group of people. You can learn from others. So ultimately, it is a satsanga that is required. Okay, so that is something which is important. And Acharyavan Purushaha Veda. And it says a man who has accepted a teacher obtains the true knowledge. So therefore, it is also important that one should approach the Guru. Okay, we move to the text number 31. Yeah, Karanji?
Yes, sorry. Could I relate an experience with somebody I knew? And then he's my friend in Rishikesh, they're a devout Hindu family, and I stay with them. And they have a guru somewhere in Calcutta, I don't know. And before, I didn't know they had a guru, but now this guru, he became very, very prominent. And I went with them to South India with the father and the son. And every morning he was talking on his mobile and he was talking Mataji. And I know he calls me Mataji. I thought he was talking to his wife. Actually, he was talking to his guru. And it's like every morning he was talking with this man. It's none of my business. And then we finished the trip. We got to Delhi. And then they had to go back and I had to go somewhere else. And I said, well, I'll pay for you. Stay in the hotel. It's 12 at midnight. I don't want, and then you go. Guru said, no, you can't stay in a hotel. Go and sleep in the railway station. You don't need discomfort. And then like the wife of my friend, I said I would like to invite her to be with me in Delhi for 1 or 2 days. And she really wanted to come. And then she didn't come. And I think Guru said, no, she can't go. And then when I was with them in their house, the Guru said, oh, she doesn't need to eat with you. Tell her to go and eat in the cafes there. She can't handle vegetarian food. And I'm like, I want to eat with you. I don't want to go and sit in these cafes where people are out of their minds on dope. And I'm thinking, does this person, he seems to have a great influence on people's lives. And like his daughter, she won a scholarship to Slovenia. And Guru said, no, she can't go to Slovenia. The West is materialistic. She doesn't need to see the materialism of the West. And I don't mean any disrespect, but when I get to India, I know as soon as I land, I'm going to go from the main terminal to the domestic terminal. I don't need anybody to help me. And all the time, people like come to my shop, do this, do that. Okay, it's not a problem. But then you're talking, the Guru is saying the West is materialistic. Fine, maybe it is, but India is also materialistic. And it's like I felt this Guru, he's having such an influence on these people, almost maybe they can't think for themselves. Like where they go, what they do.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So I remember you mentioned this before, but not in this detail. But
No, to give an example of something I've seen. It's
yeah,
not something
right.
I invented.
Yeah. Well, it just highlights that the two things here. One, at least we want to be clear in who a guru is, number one. And I think there is ample understanding that a guru should be typically one from a lineage, as at least there is the parampara, as we would call it. Now, it's not possible always to get it right. Sometimes gurus may kind of also have their human failings. But that set aside, let's talk about the way that generally gurus are approached. So one typically is the parampara. There should be a lineage, ideally. One who has sprung out of nothing may be a little kind of not ideal in terms of picking as a guru. Second, we are definitely hearing things like they have to be well versed with Vedic knowledge. I have personally noticed that one who is actually immersed in the Vedic kind of knowledge, they're very simple and austere, and their thinking is also perhaps not going to be very complicated. Then it's very clearly also saying it should be somebody who has realized the Brahman, so Brahmagnya. So if that is the case, that also makes it a lot more kind of easier. Beyond that, unfortunately, when somebody does surrender, it is a double-edged sword. Surrendering oneself to somebody else will have the unfortunate possibility that as you described in your example. Second is yes, surrender is still a required choice, particularly if you really want to kind of make progress from a bhakti point of view, where you are surrendering not only to the guru but also to the God. So I'm not too sure. I think it is left to the individual. Not everyone is a winner at the end of the day. Not every sadhaka, not every seeker is a winner. Some may kind of unfortunately fall into traps, but hopefully that's a lesson only they can learn in this life, not to be repeated again in another life. That's all I can say, because I don't think we will be able to kind of correct so many erroneous kind of aberrations that we keep seeing. But I think principles are principles at the end of the day. It is left to the individual to use their own kind of intellectual discretion to decide what is good for them.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so the next one is Saha Guruhu Parama Krupaya Adhyaropa Apavada Nyayena Nyayena एनम उपदिशति तस्मै सह विद्वान् उपसन्नाय सम्यक् प्रशान्तचित्ताय शमान्विताय येनाक्षरं पुरुषं वेद सत्यं प्रोवाच तां तत्त्वतो ब्रह्मविद्याम् माण्डुक्योपनिषत् इत्यादि श्रुतेः. So again, the word split is as follows. Saha Guruhu, that Guru, Paramakripaya, with a lot of compassion, Adhyaropa Apavada Nyayena. So this is the entire methodology of this book in these two words. Chapter 2 is Adhyaropa, which is called as superimposition. And chapter 3 is called as apavada, which is the de-superimposition. Nyaya means law. So with that law of superimposition and de-superimposition, enam is this adhikari, this student. Upadishati, this guru gives him all the knowledge, imparts the knowledge. And Mandukya Upanishad says, to whom should this knowledge be given? It says, Tasmai, to him, who is Vidwan Upasannaya. So Upasannaya, Samyak Upasannaya, the one who has approached the Guru properly. Prashanta Chittaya, that one student whose mind is tranquil. Shamanvitaya, the one who had been able to control his mind, restrain his mind. Okay, so to that student, Saha Vidwan, that guru who is knowledgeable, should impart, what should he impart? Yena Aksharam Purusham Veda, through which that Brahman, the one who is Aksharam, Ksharam is something which is likely to kind of change. Aksharam is unchangeable. That to know that Purusha, that Atman, that Brahman who is unchanging, everlasting, that Satyam, that truth, that ever existing, Tam Vidyam Provacha. So that knowledge, Tam Brahma Vidyam, that knowledge of the Brahman has to be taught by the Guru. So he is basically concluding here saying, not only is he mentioning the requirement of the Guru, but he is also summarizing the requirement, the need, or the responsibility of the Guru to impart knowledge to the aspiring student who is deserving. He is so ready to know now. He has to be imparted the knowledge. Okay. So we move on to chapter 2 now. Any questions? Any other questions so far before we move? Okay, so please open, if you have the book, it is page number 34. Asarpa bhutayam rajjau sarparopavat vastuni avastu aropaha adhyaropaha. So there are two things to consider here. One is a rope and a snake. Asarpa bhutayam rajjau. Rajju means rope. Rajjau, in the rope. A rope which actually does not have any snake in it. No attribute of snake in it at all. Asarpa bhutayam rajjav. Sarparopavat, as if a snake had been imposed upon it or superimposed upon it. Vastuni, similarly, vastuni avastu aropaha. He explains what a vastu is later and what a avastu is later. Vastu, let us say, is a thing, but what kind of a thing? It is a real thing, the one which exists. When we say reality or existence, we are referring to only the Brahman, the one which exists. And apart from that, everything else is non-existence or is a superimposition. That would be called as the avastu. So vastu is one which exists, which is the Brahman. Avastu is the one which is superimposed and not to be considered as existence. If you hear to Swami Sarvapriyananda, he gives an explanation of not only existence but non-existence as well. So when he says non-existence, for instance, it is never there anyway. Like for instance, a square circle. There's nothing called as a square circle, so it can't exist. Or fire in water, that doesn't exist. So when something doesn't exist, there is no question of it being a superimposition on vastu. That is not the case. So superimposition is something which is a plausible alternative that tends to be imposed upon the real existence. So this is called adhyaropa. So what the definition for adhyaropa? Adhyaropa is called superimposition, and it has been defined as just like how somebody in the dark, let us say, mistakes a rope to be a snake. Similarly, an ajnani, an ignorant person, like one who is born into this material world, mistakes the real this material world to be real, which is nothing but superimposition or of what exists really elsewhere. So that is adhyaropa. Now vastu, what is a vastu? Vastu is Satchitanandam Advayam Brahma Ajnanadi Sakala Jada Samuhaha Avastu. So here we have definition of a vastu and a avastu. Okay, so what is a vastu? It is Brahma, the Brahman. And what kind of a Brahman is that? Sat Chit Anandam Advayam. Sat means that which the existence, the sole existence, the absolute truth. Chit, pure consciousness or intelligence. Anandam, bliss. And then Advayam, the one which does not have a second. Which does not have a second. That is the Brahma. And everything else, Ajnanadi Sakala Jada Samuhaha Avastu. Ajnanam is ignorance. Sakala Jada Samuhaha. Jada is, which is non-intelligence. Jada means non-intelligent. Sakala, everything else. Samuhaha, the entire collection, ranging from the pure initial ignorance from which the entire creation has come into play, to every minute detail in this creation, everything is to be called as avastu. Okay, so those are the two words which are important to be known here. There are a few other things here in page 35. Ekam eva advitiyam. We have seen that to be the Brahman. Brahman is only one and there is no second to it. Sat eva Saumya idamagra asit. Hey Saumya, oh dear, my child. Sat eva, there was only existence ever before all this. So there was only that which existed, nothing else existed before all this, means before all this creation. But similarly, there is a contradiction, apparent contradiction, which is not so, which is asadva idamagra asit. Or was it non-existence that existed earlier to all this? So basically, what is inferred here apparently is that non-existence here basically would be referring to the unmanifest state of the Brahman. So whichever way we look at it, there existed something which is to be termed as absolute truth, the only one, which does not have a second, or before all this creation came into play. Okay, so we'll move to the next text, which is 34. Ajnanam tu sat asadbhyam Anirvachaniyam Trigunatmakam Jnana Virodhi Bhavarupam Yat Kinchit iti Vadanti Ahamagnya Ityaduna iti इति आद्य अनुभावात् इति अध्य अनुभावात् आद्य अनुभावात् देवात्मशक्तिं स्वगुणैर्निगूढाम् इत्यादि श्रुतेश्च श्वेतरेश्वतर उपनिषद. So ajnanam, now ajnanam or the ignorance is being defined. What is ajnanam or ignorance? I think again we'll just take a step back here. When we referred to earlier in the first lesson, creation as per Sankhya Darshana, we have, some of us have gone through that in Sankhya Darshana class. So there is Prakriti, which is the unmanifest ignorance, you can say. There is Purusha, who is the unmanifest intelligence. And that is me, that is you, that is all of us. That is the Atma. So all of us are the individual brilliance of this intelligence. Now, we have just now seen that it always existed. It existed, it was the only thing which existed before all this creation came into play, which means I, you, all of us have existed even before creation has come into play. So therefore, I am the Purusha. I am the Atman. I am that Sat, which is the existence. I am that Chit, the pure intelligence. I am that Ananda, which is the pure bliss. But Prakriti is also unmanifest, but it's not me. It is not that Chaitanya, it is not that intelligence, it is not that existence. It is not the absolute truth. But it also existed, Anadi. It has no beginning also. But what happens? From the Prakriti, we understand that next comes the once the creation starts taking place. So before that, Prakriti has something else in it. It is made of 3 gunas, which are the building blocks: Sattva, Rajas, Tamo guna. So all these 3 are the building blocks of the entire creation. And through these building blocks, once there is that emergence of the creation, how does it obviously take place? With some coordinating work between the Purusha and the Prakriti. There is something happening with them together. They are brought together, they come together, resulting in the, let us call it a Big Bang of some sort, and the creation takes place. But the creation is not taking place from Purusha. Creation is happening from this Jada Padartha, or the inert substance, which is made of the 3 gunas. Whereas the Purusha is giving the intelligence into everything that is being created. So the first thing which comes out was the Mahat. Actually, I shared that slide in the WhatsApp group, if you can remember. So Mahat is the intelligence that is built into the creation. It is a conglomerate of all the intelligence of all of us, of all of everything.
Sorry, is it the cosmic intelligence?
No, I'm talking about the Prakritic intelligence.
Prakritic intelligence.
Which is the created intelligence. So then comes the Ahankara. Ahankara is the individual identity of everything that is created. And then comes the Pancha Tanmatra, the subtle elements of the creation, and which are to be called as water, air, ether, fire, and earth. From those then originate the indriyas, the sense organs, which are the organs of perception, organs of action, and then the mind as well. So there are 11 of those which have come out. And then thereafter, we have the gross elements that arise and the gross substances that are born out of them. So all these are going to be discussed in Vedantasara in this chapter itself, the superimposition. So I'm just giving the in nutshell what is going to be covered. There are going to be a lot more details which are very interesting, and we will come one by one. We will go through them one by one. So here Ajnanam, when it's called Ajnanam, we are already referring to the very preliminary in ignorance through which the creation has come into play. Now, how can ignorance bring creation into play? Ignorance that I am the Atman, or lacking the knowledge that I am the Atman, lacking the knowledge that Atman is avikari, it doesn't actually manifest, lacking the understanding that it is one, but with the superimposed false understanding, I am creating everything. Therefore, it is ignorance. So it says, Sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam trigunatmakam jnana virodhi bhavarupam. So we need to see one at a time. Sat is existence, asat is non-existence. Anirvachaniyam. Apparently, this ignorance is not existence, neither is it non-existence, it seems. Earlier, again, we will go back to that example, a nice one which Swami Sarvapriyananda mentioned, which is that, let us say there are three things. One, telling the truth. One, lying. And truth. And the third is silence, he said. Yes, that's right. So there are three things to be seen, he said. One is telling the truth, which is truth, and there is no dispute to it. That is existence. Then another is silence. Silence, there is nothing to be gained out of it. It is just silence there. So that is non-existence. Lie is actually something which is being said in place of the truth, and not the truth, but is somewhat related to the truth. So in a way, this lie is neither the truth nor the silence. So that's a reasonable example that he has given, which is fair to understand. Similarly, this ignorance, ajnanam, is not sat, not asat, not the existence, which is the absolute reality, not the non-existence, which doesn't exist in the first place itself. Like this square circle. Square circle does not exist. This ignorance is beyond these two. And therefore, anirvachaniyam, therefore it cannot be explained otherwise. And it is trigunatmakam, it is made of those three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamo guna. It is jnana virodhi, it is an opponent of knowledge. It does not like knowledge. Because why does it not like knowledge? When knowledge shows up, it disappears. It cannot stand. Just as we light the fire, darkness goes away. So therefore, for darkness, light is a virodhi. Light is an opponent. It vanishes. Similarly, ajnanam vanishes when jnana comes into play. Bhava rupam. Now, the Absolute truth is, it doesn't have a bhava. Bhava would be more like something which can be described, something which can be felt, something which can be perceived. Brahma, Atma, cannot be part of it. But this one is bhava rupam. It can be felt, or it can be perceived, it can be visualized. Yat kinchit, whatever it is, iti vadanti aham agnaha. Now there is an example being given here. How do we know that there is ignorance? Because people do say that, oh, I am foolish. So there's something therefore called as ajnana is being given as a laukika, very common example. Ityadi anubhavat. Ityadi anubhavat. So examples like this can give us some understanding that there is definitely something called as a ignorance or ajnanam. Devatma shaktim swagunair nigudam. So there is a there's an Upanishad shlokam which goes that way. Ityadi shrutehe. So Deva Atma Shaktim. Shakti is obviously Prakriti. The one which is being kind of veiled in, or this ignorance also kind of somehow belongs, or somehow is not unrelated to the Brahman. Because when this ignorance veils or covers this Brahman, it leads to the manifestation. So we'll talk about it as we go along. Swagunaihi nigudham. Nigudham means hidden. So with this Shakti's gunas, Shakti has gunas like Sattva, Rajas, Tamo guna, and so on, various attributes to it, the Prakriti, the ignorance. Because of its various attributes, it is able to kind of veil or kind of put a cover onto this Brahman. Now again, good example, apparently the way we should understand this is, like for instance, we have a glass of water, and you hold a colored object behind that glass of water. Automatically, the water looks colored because of this object which is behind that glass of water. Now, is the water actually tainted with that color? It is not. It has not changed its color. But it looks as if the color has changed. That is because something else is making it look like it. But the glass or the water has not changed its form in any fashion. And when you remove that colored object behind the glass, the water still stays the same, colorless. It's exactly the way, that way we should be understanding it, is what again we learn from Swami Sarvapriyananda's sessions, which is that when we have this ajnanam or the ignorance covering the Brahman, it is not as if the Brahman has changed itself. It is as it is. But because of this newly looking colored water, the manifestation that comes out appears to have a power, and the power plays up in making this creation work. Okay, so that is how we need to understand it. Okay, so what's the time? Anything so far? Any questions? So in page 38, there is a shloka from Naishkarmya Siddhi. Seyam Bhranti Niralambha Sarvanyaya Virodhini Sahatena Vicharam Sa Tamo Yat Vidhivara Yatvad Divakaram. So, Seyam Saha Iyam Bhranti Niralamba. Bhranti is the illusion. Okay. Sarvanyaya Virodhini. That illusion or ignorance, it cannot be logically supported. So therefore it is Sarva Nyaya Virodhini. That ignorance is an opponent to any form of logic whatsoever. Bhranti Niralamba. This Bhranti, this ignorance or illusion has no support whatsoever. Just like how, and they do not tolerate Vicharam. If you make an attempt to logically infer or deduce, that ignorance cannot tolerate, it disappears. It does not like it. How? Just as a tamaha, the darkness, saha tamaha yatvad divakaram. Just like how when the sun comes out, divakaraha, the one who makes the day, when he comes out, just as the darkness cannot tolerate the sunlight, similarly, this Bhranti or the illusion cannot stand the knowledge or logic, is what is said here. Then there is another interesting text here. Ajamekam lohita shukla krishnam bahvihi prajaha srujamanam sarupaha. We're going a step ahead. We don't need to, but because it is mentioned, it is important. Ajam ekam. So we're talking about the Prakriti here. Prakriti is the Strilinga. Ajam ekam Prakritim. So we can add Prakriti here. It is a eka, it is one. Prakriti as of now, because it is unborn. Aja means unborn. It is not born out of anything. It is always there. What is born out of it is the creation. But the Prakriti, the Mola Prakriti, which is the actual unmanifest ignorance, is one, unborn, but it has attributes, right? It has Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Guna. Here, for instance, Lohita, Shukla, Krishna. So there are some colors that are mentioned here. Lohita is red color, Shukla is white, Krishna is black. From these colors, Bahvihi Prajaha Srujamanam Sarupaha. Similar looking, there are so many similar looking things which are emerging out. Many, plenty, countless. Countless things are being created out of this one unmanifest creative force called Maya or Avidya or Prakriti. Okay. Okay, so far. Then there is also a mention of Bhagavad Gita shloka. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrataha. Mudhoyam nabhijanati loko mam ajam avyayam. This is from 7th chapter of Gita, which explains as Na aham prakashaha sarvasya yogamaya samavrataha mudaha aham na abhijanati lokaha mam ajam avyayam. People don't understand that I am the light, prakashaha sarvasya. I am the light of everything. How? Yogamaya samavrataha. The same Yogamaya that we are talking about, the creative force, the Prakriti, it actually is a design out of me. I do it through some kind of yoga maya, the yogic powers of me. Samavrataha. So, Samavrataha, when this comes into play and covers the Brahman, just as we have explained earlier. But Mudaha, the fool, Mam na abhijanati, he does not understand me. That Mudaha lokaha, that person who is ignorant, he does not understand that aham ajam avyayam, that I am unborn and avyayam, I do not manifest. I'm not something from which things will, because he is a avikari, unmanifest, it's an unmanifest oneness, which is avikari. It doesn't change at all. So how can a changeless thing change into something which is manifest Brahman? It appears so, that's it. It appears so because of the way it has been entangled or veiled, covered by the unmanifest Prakriti. Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. That is also from Bhagavad Gita. We know that, right? Jnanena tu tadajnanam yesham nashitam atmanaha tesham adityavat jnanam prakashayati tatparam. That is the next shloka. So when somebody is filled with ignorance, they are in a delusion. Tena muhyanti jantavaha. So with that, they land into state of ignorance. Okay. So shall I proceed or stop? How many of you have books, by the way, or have the PDF with you?
I have the PDF.
Yeah. As long as you have PDF. Any questions so far? I know it's not going to be easy, but let us take a break just to see how we are going.
Out of the four things, it
Santosh Kumar,
started
you're
with
able to understand, right? You're able to follow?
Yes, sir. I am trying to understand.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay.
Just I am following the book, your description.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, Annapurna garu, please.
it started with the Adhikari kadandi, student Adhikari. Then you spoke about the qualities of the eligibility of the Adhikari. Now, then today you spoke about the Guru.
No. So, no. So, there is something called as Anubandha Chatushtayam. We have completed that. Anubandha Chatushtayam includes 4 things. One is Adhikari, the eligible aspirant. Second is Vishaya, which is the subject. Third is the Sambandha, the relation between the text which are being used to propose this subject and the relation between them. And fourth is the Prayojanam, which is the benefit. So those have been discussed today. We have discussed all the remaining 3 of the Anubandha Chatushtayam. And then we looked at the Guru. And once that is done, we have moved on to chapter 2, which is the Adhyaropa. So we are doing Adhyaropa right now.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
So this knowledge makes sense, and I'm a big fan of Swami Sarvpriyananda, whose lectures I listen often.
Yeah.
But the difficulty is the world's Maya, or the happenings in the world as well as around us, kind of pull us out of this knowledge. And we are not, even though we have this knowledge, whenever we want to, we can bring it back. We are not in that knowledge. And that's a huge challenge. And how do we progress towards being in that knowledge all the time?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a very important point to reflect upon. And when we have that level of understanding where the challenge lies, that itself is a lot of progress made. So to begin with, let's call this a study group. So this we have deliberately called a study group, where we are all learning together. And the knowledge, for it to stay with us, there is no other way apart from constant manana, a repetitive reminder. So it should almost become like a japam, whereby I am reminding myself that I am that oneness, I am that immortal Brahman, I am that avikari. Only when we remind ourselves, particularly when there are critical moments where we are being challenged and tested, and as you said, very easily distracted with everything else happening in this world, it is that time when we have to remind ourselves. Now, what does it do? Does it automatically take us out of the situation? Or does it automatically give us this eject button saying, oh, this is all illusion, what you're seeing is illusion, that accident that you see across, you don't need to rush to save anybody, that's an illusion? Is that what it is going to say? I don't think so. I think the way it's going to help is, it then brings in the various other spiritual principles in play, like you then become detached with what is happening, but you still perform your duties. You still are able to perform your duties without investing your emotions. This is where it's going to keep helping you, and you then do something else. You then leave it for destiny to decide, or karma siddhanta to decide, whether you will be born again or not born again. And when you are born again, Bhagavad Gita says, Partha naiveha mutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyana krutkasya durgatim tata prapya gacchati. Because Arjuna asked this very pertinent question saying, let us say I've made all this progress this time. Will I have to start from zero again? He says, no, you will start from where you left. So it's a constant journey. I think where we are, it is important that we are in a satsanga. Without a satsanga, it is not possible to make progress, or the progress is going to be a lot more slower. Because satsanga gives you a structure to remind yourself, to work with each other, to help each other. And second would be, as we have done, for instance, Sankhya Karikas, we have in that Ishwara Krishna very clearly mentions how the only way you can include jnana in your progress is by repetitive reminders. And that is where he clearly mentions. And the third is follow the dharma. For instance, the ones I have already mentioned, Nishkama Karma, Sthita Prajnata, Samadrishti, which is the universal law. You keep practicing all these things on a daily basis, knowing well that you are the Atman. But at the same time, you are still bound to do all the things that you are drawn into doing. You don't need to escape from that. You are drawn into it because you are actually realizing them with your own eyes, your ears. If these are all real for you as of now. So there is no escape from it. And how do we know that? Again, go back to Bhagavad Gita, where he clearly differentiates the karma from akarma and vikarma. Those not to be done is vikarma. inaction is akarma, karma is duty. And if we have a definition in that way, then karma has to be fulfilled. But akarma, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to have any attachment with this illusionary word. What does it lead to? It leads to inaction. Of what use is your presence there? It is of no use. In fact, it is only going to be counterproductive. So it goes like this. This is as much as I can suggest we should do. Not just you, we should all do.
Just one additional question.
Yeah.
If people take advantage of us because we are in this path, especially those close to us, what do we kind of take it as? Is it a test for us?
How do they take advantage of us?
Let's say they don't support us
in this
the
path. You mean in this path?
In this path, or more this one in the worldly things.
Worldly matters. Aha. Okay, understand. Okay, so basically you're facing challenges in real life, and you're being challenged, you're being tested, you're being pulled in all directions. Again, your knowledge of who you are detaches you from what is happening from an emotional perspective, or at least from the point of view that you are not accumulating new karma. At least as long as you are able to remind yourself with this knowledge, the Brahma Vidya, and keep doing the repetitive kind of reminders, you are definitely on the right track of not accumulating new karma. But your emotions will still be processed. They will still be going through. You will still feel gutted. You will still feel angry. You will still feel happy. You will still have a little bit of jealousy, little bit of vengeance, little bit of this and that. Everything will be going on. In fact, we were talking about it only this morning in our Bhagavad Gita class. If you read Valmiki Ramayanam, Rama has displayed all these that we are talking about. He was gutted when Sita was lost. He was angry. He was lost. So he was a typical human there. He was completely kind of lost, emotionally distraught, and even his thinking ability was also affected badly, until he was reminded by Lakshmana what a great person Rama was and whatnot, and then he composed himself. So it is entirely possible for us to fall off the rails, but this knowledge keeps us going and it reminds us to come back on track. And you can be reassured that you will not lose the path. So people may test you, people may belittle you for what, even if you are spiritual, they may try to deviate you from spiritual path, or they may actually bring in new challenges. I think it is not entirely impossible, I must say. It is not entirely impossible to lead a dharmic life, lead a life of spirituality, while still leading your material life. And the formula, of course, is you need to make compromises. How much of kama, how much of artha you are going to go with. You need to, I would say that your kama, your desires have to be as per dharma. Your artha has to be as per dharma. Once you do that, then things are under control. If those are not controlled, if those are out of control, then you have already kind of deviated yourself to a large extent, only for you to kind of complete those accounts. Until you have kind of exhausted those accounts, things will be quite difficult. So this is how it is.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else wishes to? So, if it is okay, I'll just quickly cover 2 more texts and then we will stop there. So, idam ajnanam, idam ajnanam samashti vyashtyaviprayena ekam anekam iti cha vyavahriyate. Here we are being introduced to 2 new words, samashti and vyashti. Vyashti means individual, samashti is collective. So the ignorance can be individual and collective as well. So ajnanam is ignorance. So it can be collective and individual. Abhiprayena ekam anekam iti cha vyavahriyate. So that nothing much else to say there. In this ignorance can be multiples of many or one. What is one? Let's say, for instance, that the Prakriti, the one which started off, was one ignorance. Whereas all of us who believe that we are the body and we are not the Atman, we are all the individual ignorances. Okay. Tathahi yatha vrikshanam samashti abhiprayena vanam iti ekatva vyapadeshaha yatha va jalanam samashtyaviprayena jalashaya iti tata nanatvena pratibhasamananam jivakata ajnananam samashti abhiprayena tat ekatva vyapadeshaha ajam ekam iti ityadi shrutehe. So he gives further examples. What is that collective and what is the individual? Examples are vrikshanam samashtihi vanam. So trees, each individual tree, all put together becomes a forest, makes a forest. So just like that, each individual ignorances of, let us say, all of us, collectively becomes the collective ignorance. The creational ignorance of the creation. Similarly, the various drops of water collectively makes a water body. So each water body, each water droplet is ignorance, and the collective is the collective ignorance. So that is as much as is mentioned here, nothing much else to say. Similarly, it says jivagata ajnanam. So pratibhasamananam. So it looks like, and I think we need to remind here ourselves, it is all about looks like. It is not is. It looks like. Collection of trees looks like a forest. Collection of water droplets looks like a water body. That is how we need to take as examples. So collection of various ignorances looks like ignorance, because ignorance itself is a look like. It is an imposition, superimposition, but not the real. So therefore, jivagata ajnananam samashti abhiprayena tadekatvam vyapadeshaha. Similarly, jivas, the various ones, we are all individuals, right? Our all collective also becomes that one ignorance. Okay, I'm greedy to complete just one more, a small little one. Iyam samashtihi upadhitaya vishuddha sattva pradhana. So iyam samashtihi utkrishta upadhitaya vishuddha sattva pradhana. So samashti, first he is covering samashti and then he'll go to look at vyashti. Samashti, he's covering the collective ignorance to begin with. Now there'll be a name given to the collective ignorance. Who is assuming this collective ignorance? Brahman is assuming the collective ignorance. Because Brahman seems like as if caught in this ignorance. And that has led to the creation. So that Brahman, which seemed to have been caught in ignorance, that consciousness which is being covered with ignorance, that together, that consciousness plus that covering is going to be given a name. That is the samashti one, which will be given a name. And then similarly, vyashti, the individual consciousness that I am, along with its covering of ignorance, will be given a name as well. So here, all it says is Utkrishta Upaditaya. The covering, the resultant is Utkrishta. It is actually a better one, a better kind of result out of the covering because of the Brahman itself, the entire cosmic existence, cosmic oneness. And it is Shuddha Sattva Pradhana. So Sattva, Rajas, Tamo gunas, right? So essentially, this Brahman has the quality of Shuddha Sattva, a pure, serene kind of a quality that it has. We'll stop here and we'll continue thereafter, because there are a lot of gunas being mentioned as a result of it. Once this Brahman has been superimposed with this ajnana, the ignorance, because of its Shuddha Sattva guna, what are the various attributes that it seems to be presenting with will be seen. Once that is done, then the Vyashti, the individual, is also going to be talked about. And it goes like that. Okay. So we'll close for today.
Jose, if you have the Sanskrit version of this, the English one is available in the group. If you have the Sanskrit version, please post it.
Sanskrit version is basically the PDF. Yeah. I'll post it in the group. Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
And if you want to buy the book, it is Vedantasara of Sadananda.
So, is it available in Amazon?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I bought it from Amazon. Yeah. In India, it is 60 rupees. Yes.
better we buy it.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend buying. Okay. Any others? Padmavati Garu, and yes, any questions, anything else to discuss? Karanji, okay?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking something. I'm not sure quite how to phrase it. If there was only the para-Atman, and then that's part of everything and in everything, and we are part of that. And our goal in our life is to realize that, but probably we can't do it in one life. We need many incarnations to eventually reach that and realize it. I was wondering, what was the point in the beginning? If the para-Atman was just there and it was everything, then why do the creation and then go through this process of getting back to where you started?
Yes, good question.
When you already started, you were perfect.
Yeah. So a very simplistic answer that is given in Bhagavatam and so on is, it is the Leela. It is a cosmic play. It's a simplistic, most simplistic, but nice answer. It's a cosmic play. And we are all part of the cosmic play. That's it. So honestly, I don't think even the rishis ever understood why there ends up being a creation, why it is cyclical in nature. I have this feeling it's a compulsion that it has to go through. It is a compulsive cyclical nature of the cosmos. It just has to go through. It can't stay still. So that is my own understanding. That is my take. But from a Vedantic perspective, you have always been there as the Atman. You as Karen never existed. This
Okay.
is this is all part of the play. This is part of the illusion. So that is what we are being told to understand from Vedantasara. You were never there to begin with. Why are you thinking that you are there? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Is it also that when there is stillness, creation takes place, starts to take place?
I understand, but why is the question? Why is it taking
Why?
place? So we don't know. So, and we just look around things in our own nature. There are a lot of things which are pulsatile in nature. There are a lot of things which are cyclical in nature. The seasons are cyclical. Our birth and death is cyclical. So there, and then there are a lot of things which are pulsatile as well. So somehow maybe this is just an example of what must be also happening in the cosmic design. So, and if we want to break our head for that, so be it. But in fact, I was actually wanting to propose a topic for a discussion in one of the satsangs, which is Dharma versus Atma Vidya. Which is more important? Or the other way to put that topic across is Atma Vidya or is Brahmajnanam the answer for everything that we come across, that we witness? It doesn't mean that it doesn't answer the questions. It only means that sometimes we may end up being in two different camps. If we only look for solitary bliss out of spirituality and don't want to engage with the world, I'm afraid a lot of things will go wrong in the world. But at the same time, if we completely indulge in material kind of race, then we are also losing the plot. There has to be a balance, and Dharma has to be the first point that we need to uphold. Only when Dharma Sthapana takes place can people spend time to go inwards and then attain moksha. So without expecting Dharma to prevail across the world, assuming that it will automatically come, it doesn't come like that. I don't think so. So therefore, there also I see a cyclical nature. If you don't put the effort to bring in adharma, dharma, adharma comes into play. And adharma, when it becomes lot more tough to take up anymore, you're sick of it, then there will be a natural effort to bring back dharma. But dharma can't sustain itself for very long because adharma always tries to come and show its ugly face back again. So yet again, it keeps on. It's a cyclical nature as well again. I don't see dharma prevailing always all the time. So these are ways I understand that therefore cosmos can't just sit still like that. It has to go through a cyclical nature. Okay, we'll close. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkhabad bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right, meet up again next week. Namaskar.
Yeah, thank you.
Namaskar.
Dhanyawad.
Thank you very much.